Good morning. Again, going to do a little different coffee with Bob this morning. We're in the state of Washington. We've just been coming along the Columbia River, and now we're going to hike up Beacon Rock. I got some fun stories about that a little bit later. We just passed the Lewis and Clark Trail, and I couldn't help but think about Lewis and Clark making their journey 215 years ago, all through this wilderness. What it took to have the courage to move into uncharted territory, areas that are completely unknown. It truly was an amazing journey. And again, I want to kind of visit a little bit about that as I take you on a tour all the way up Beacon Rock. Beacon Rock is 848 feet high. It's now, when it was now called Beacon Rock, but back in the day of Lewis and Clark, when they first saw it, back in 1805, they called it Beaten Rock. It was so weathered. They could see it for 20 miles down the Columbia River when they came by. They made a description of it. It really was an incredible hike all the way up, as you have seen. And just to think of Lewis and Clark literally coming down that Columbia River was very inspiring. What they accomplished with their group, their troop, all the way to the Pacific Ocean, finding the Northwest and then making it back to St. Louis, was an incredible feat when they did it. Only one person out of their troop was lost. It was very early on in the trip. He was 22 years old, and they think he probably had died of appendicitis. The rest of the group, they endured incredible hardship, but they made it there and made it back. But the thing that I was also left thinking about was who they encountered along the way. They encountered more than 50 Native American tribes as they were moving along. And what they did whenever they met them was they presented them a coin with a picture of Thomas Jefferson on one side, and on the other side there was a peace pipe, and two hands were joined. Friendship with peace was written at the bottom. And there they explained to the Native Americans, we now owned their land. It's hard to believe we would say something like that. We bought the land, quote, from the French. Who gave it to the French? The Native Americans had been here. And what it would mean to their future as we began to move across America would not be a very kind story. But it's the story that happens in Israel, where the Israelites were there, and then they got moved off, and the Palestinians came in for 1,000 years, and then when they get moved out, when the people of Israel take back over in 1948. That's what happens down in Australia. It's what's happened around the world, and how the lesson of how do we as human beings learn to live with each other as we begin to live in the same spot. What an important thing to remember, that we can do it different. What we can learn to do is to love our neighbor, no exception. I hope you have a great day.